Hi, my name is Annie. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make the Sunburst Granny Square. This is a classic Granny Square pattern that, as far as I know, it's been around for decades. And today, I'm going to be showing you in a very beginner-friendly way how to make this granny square. So I will walk you through all the stitches that you will need to make these beautiful granny squares. The first thing you need for your granny square is yarn. I am using this rainbow cotton 8/8 yarn from Hobby. This is a DK or number 3 light yarn. If you're very new to crochet, I wouldn't really go with anything thinner because it's going to be hard for you to see your stitches. So something like a DK yarn or worsted weight yarn, which is even a little bit thicker, I think are great beginner yarns. And your yarn packaging here is going to tell you what size of a crochet hook you will need. So I would check the recommendation here and start with that. And if you want to make a granny square like the one I have here with 4 different colors, then obviously you're gonna need 4 different colors of yarn. These are the colors that I picked, but you could really pick any colors that you want for your granny square. Other things you need, I already mentioned crochet hook. Check your yarn packaging for the recommended hook size. Then you're going to be needing a yarn needle and a pair of scissors, and that's it. So the way we make this granny square is we are going to be working rounds, starting from the very middle. And for this middle part, we are going to be creating a circle, and then we work 16 double crochet stitches around that circle. So we are going to start by making a slip knot. And the way I do that is I take my yarn and I wrap it around my finger, just like that. I take that loop off my finger, and then I pull another little loop through it. And I pull it tight. And then I put it on my hook and I pull it a little bit tighter. Not too tight. You want this loop to move here a little bit because otherwise it's going to be hard for you to pull your stitches through it. And then I'm going to chain 4. So the way we chain is we bring the hook behind the yarn like that, and we pull it through that loop on our hook. So bring the hook behind the yarn, it's called a yarn over, and we pull it through. Bring the hook behind the yarn and pull it through. We are going to be chaining 4, so we need 1 more because we have 1, 2, and 3 here. So bring the hook behind the yarn and just pull it through. That's called chain. So now I have 4 chain stitches here, and I want to turn this into a little circle. And the way I do that is I'm going to be inserting my hook into this very first stitch here. So here, just insert the hook there, grab that yarn and bring it through. I have 2 loops on my hook and I bring it also through the loop on my hook. And now I have a little circle here, which is at the moment very hard to see, but I will show you how you can find the center of your circle because that's where we're going to be inserting the hook to make our double crochets. But before that, I'm going to chain 3. 1. So yarn over, this is called a yarn over, when we bring the hook behind the yarn like that and pull it through. So yarn over and we pull it through. I chained 3 stitches here. And now if you remember, I said that we're going to be working 16 double crochets around this circle. Now this initial chain 3 here is going to count as our very first double crochet. So we are going to be needing 15 more. And to do that, we need to know now where the center of our circle is. And if you look at your circle, if it looks like anything like mine, you might see kind of like an opening there. Now that is not the center of our circle. The center is going to be underneath that. So if you pull it apart just a little bit, you're gonna see another little yarn here. And underneath that yarn, a little opening. Now that is the center of our circle where we will be inserting the hook. So let's work our first double crochet. I promise it's going to become more obvious once we make the first double crochet. So double crochet is yarn over, exactly the same way we did before. But now we're not going to be pulling it through. We are going to be inserting the hook into that center of the circle. And we grab the yarn and we bring it through. And I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over. I pull through 2 of them. So pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over and I pull through the other 2. Now that was my first actual double crochet. Let's make a couple of more. And as I go now, I will start holding this yarn end here together with my little circle so that it gets kind of worked inside this circle. That's going to be making the weaving in the ends a lot easier. And now, as you can see, I can already see that center of the circle a lot better after the first double crochet. So another double crochet, yarn over, insert in the same space in the middle, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That was my second double crochet. Let's make one more and then I'm going to let you work around the circle. So yarn over, insert in the middle, grab that yarn and bring it through. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. That's another double crochet. Now if you look at your work at this point, you are going to be seeing 4 stitches. The first one is the initial chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. And then we have these 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for this center part of the granny square, I will need 16 double crochet stitches in total. So I'm going to let you work around your circle. If you need to go back and see how we worked these 3 double crochets here, feel free to do that because the rest of them are exactly the same. So work around your circle all the way around until you have 16 stitches, including that initial chain 3. And I will meet you right here. Now I have worked around the circle and I have 16 stitches here in total. Let's count them. So we have here, that's our initial chain 3, which counts as a double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 stitches. And now I'm going to be closing this round. And the way I do that is I'm going to be inserting my hook into the top of this chain 3 we made at the start, and closing it with a slip stitch. So I'm gonna go into this stitch here, this one, and I'll insert my hook. Sometimes the stitch is a little tight and you might need to go through one loop first and then the second one. At least that's the way it works for me. So through both of those loops on the same stitch, and then I'll bring that yarn through both of those, and I bring it through the loop on my hook, and I closed my circle. I will go ahead and chain 1, so yarn over and pull through, and then I can cut my yarn. And just pull it through. And now in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how I like to weave in my ends as I go. If you wanted to, you could also just leave that yarn end and weave it in at the end, but I like to weave them in as I go. So the way I do this, I haven't really seen anyone else do it this way, so I might be breaking some crochet rules here, I don't know. But this way works for me. So I turn my work around. This is the back side. You can tell that it's a back side from this yarn tail here. And I'm going to go into this stitch next to this yarn and only through one of the loops. So if you look here, all of these stitches have 2 loops, the front loop on the front side and the back loop on the back side. So I'm going into that back loop and I pull the yarn through. Just like that. So for me, I like to weave in the ends into 2 different directions. I feel like it's a secure way to weave them in. They don't escape easily. So I go like this for a little bit. Doesn't need to be super long. Just a few stitches there. Then I pull my work to make sure that this yarn end is not too tight and bunching up my work. And then I pull it a little bit like that. And then I turn my work, and now the yarn end is here. And what I'm going to do for this second round is I'm going to be attaching the new color right into the same stitch where this yarn end is. And as I work around the circle, I'm going to be holding this yarn tail together with the work so that it gets weaved into this other direction as well. And then it just disappears there and I don't need to do anything at the end. So if you like my method, feel free to use it. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab my second color. In my case, it's this darker yellow. And same thing as before, make a slip knot. And then put it on your hook. And then I'll just find, technically you could go into any of these stitches, but since I want to weave this yarn end in, I'm just gonna go and see where I have it. And I'll insert my hook right there. So through both of these loops. I take my new yarn and I pull it through. And I pull it through. Now we attached our yarn. For me, at this point, I like to turn my work like that and hold that little knot there with one finger and then pull the yarn tail with another. or with the other hand, so that the yarn gets tightly attached. And now for the second round, we are going to be working what I believe is called a puff stitch. So we are going to be making these puff stitches all around the circle, 16 in total. So on top of each one of these double crochets, we're going to be working a puff stitch. And we are going to be starting by chaining 1. Now, if you remember from the first round, we chained 3, and that counted as our first double crochet. Now for these puff stitches, that chain 1 here is not going to count as anything, so it just helps us to bring us to the right height, and this stitch is just going to kind of disappear there. So that's the only purpose for it. And then I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to be inserting into the same stitch where we just attached this yarn and made that chain 1. So into the same stitch, I grab that yarn, pull it through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over again, insert it into the same space, grab the yarn and pull it through. And now with these ones, every time you bring that hook through with those yarn overs, pull the hook a little bit so that it kind of gets to it's not pulled tight like this. You want these stitches to be not too loose, but you want them to be kind of at this right height here. So we have 5 loops on our hook, and we'll go once more. Yarn over, insert in the very same stitch. It's getting a little tight, but it's okay. We grab the yarn and we pull it through. And again, I'm pulling the hook just a little bit so that it's not too tight. And now if we count here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 loops on our hook. And now we're going to be pulling through all 7. So we go yarn over and we pull through all 7. And then we chain 1. And this here is our very first puff stitch. Let's make another one. So I'm holding this yarn end here together with my work. I find my next stitch here, and I go yarn over, insert the hook, pull that yarn through, pull the hook a little bit so that it's not too tight, 3 loops, yarn over, insert in the same stitch, bring that yarn through, again pull a little bit so it's not too tight, 5 loops, yarn over, insert in the very same stitch, and pull that yarn through, and again pull the hook a little bit so it's not too tight. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on my hook, and I will yarn over and pull it through all 7, and then I chain 1. So that is how we're going to be working around our circle. So every time before we pull through all of the loops, make sure that you have 7 loops on your hook, and then between the puff stitches we will always chain 1. So I'm gonna let you work around your circle. If you need to go back and see how we made that puff stitch, feel free to rewind and see how we made this one, the second one, because we will make the rest of them exactly the same way. So each one of these stitches you will work a puff stitch. So work around your circle and I will meet here. I will meet you back here. Hi. So one more thing I wanted to show you here. I'm not all the way around yet. because I realized that I forgot to show you how to deal with this yarn end here. So this yellow yarn end. So what I like to do, sometimes I forget, just like now, I almost forgot. But what I try to do is at some point here early on, I stop the second round and I turn my work around. And I take this yarn end and I do the exact same thing we did earlier. So I kind of pull this yarn through these back loops for a little bit. Like that. And then when I get on this round, when I get to this point where this yarn end is, I will start holding it together with that circle again as I go. And that's how it gets weaved in into two different directions here. So feel free to use that method as well if you like it. Now I have worked all around my circle, and if I count my puff stitches here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And after this last one here, I have chained 1. And now I'm going to bring this round together, and this time I'm going to be inserting my hook into the space between these first two puff stitches. So I go into that space, not in a stitch, just the space between those two. And I grab that yarn and bring it through, and then I bring it through the loop on my hook. And then I will go ahead and chain 1, and I can cut my yarn. You want to leave just a couple of inches here so that you can securely weave this yarn end in. I pull the hook through and just fast enough. And we're gonna start our third round. Before I do that, I'm gonna do the same thing I did before to weave in this end. So turn my work around. Now, as you can see, those other yarn ends have sort of disappeared in the work. I only have this initial one here. So I'll just go into these back loops and just pull the yarn through. Okay, I'm gonna call that good enough. And then as I start, I will again attach the yarn here where I have this yarn end and just hold the rest of it together with the work as I go. So let's go ahead and grab our third color. In my case, it's going to be this light yellow or pastel yellow. And I will make once more a slip knot. Put it on my hook. And now I attach the yarn here where this yarn end is. And I'm going to be attaching it into one of these spaces. Remember how we chained 1 in between these puff stitches? That's where I'm going to be attaching this yarn into the space. So just insert the hook, bring that yarn through, and bring it through the loop on my hook. And again, I like to make sure that it's tight here. just like that. And now for the third round, we are going to be working these clusters of double crochet stitches. So essentially this is a cluster of 3 double crochets that we kind of leave partial stitches, and then we bring them all together at the end and kind of finish them. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And I am going to be chaining 2 here first. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Now, if you remember on the first round, we chained 3, and that counted as our first double crochet. For this one, I'm not entirely sure what's the right way to do it, but I like to only chain 2 here because this is going to count as our first partial double crochet, not a full double crochet. It's gonna make more sense when you see how we do it, but I only chain 2 here, otherwise I feel like it gets too loose. So holding this yarn and here together, I'm gonna go ahead and work my next partial double crochet into this very same space. So I start as if I'm doing a double crochet. So yarn over, insert in the same space, grab that yarn, bring it through. I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, and I pull through. Now if you remember, for double crochet we would go yarn over and pull through 2 again, but we're gonna stop here for now, and we'll pull through those last loops once we have all of our kind of partial double crochets here. So I go yarn over, insert in the same space, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and now I have 3 loops on my hook. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to go yarn over one more time, and now I pull it through all 3 of those loops. And that is our first double crochet cluster, where this initial chain 2 counts as our first kind of partial double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 2. 1 and 2. And then I'm going to be making my next cluster in the same, into this next space between 2 puff stitches. So I go yarn over, insert the hook there, bring that yarn through, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop there. Yarn over, insert the hook in the same space, bring that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. And 1 more. Yarn over, insert the hook, bring that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. Only 2. See, the third one wants to come too, but no, you have to wait. Okay. And now I have 1, 2, 3 kind of partial double crochets there, and I have 4 loops on my hook. Now if you remember, for the first one we had 3 loops on our hook when we pulled through all of them. Now for this one and for all the rest of these clusters, you're always going to have 4 loops on your hook when you go yarn over and you pull through all of them. The first one only had 3 because that was our first initial cluster and we started with that chain 2 there, but for the rest of them you're always going to have 4 loops. And after I pull through all of them, I chain 2. and then I work the next one in the next space. So yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop. Yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and stop. And I have 4 loops in my hook again. Yarn over, pull through 2, and chain 2. And now here, early on, again, I will stop and I will take care of this yarn end. So exactly the same way I did before. Okay, I stop there, and then once I work around my circle, again, once I get to this point where I have this yarn end, I just hold it together with my work as I go, and it disappears. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and work around your circle. So you need 16 of these clusters total. So working always in the space between 2 puff stitches to make that cluster of double crochets, and 2 chain stitches in between each one of these clusters. If you need to see again how to make these clusters, feel free to go back and see how we did this one and this one, because the rest of them are going to be exactly the same way. Okay, I have worked all around my circle, and I have now 16 double crochet clusters here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And after the last one, I have chained 2 stitches. And now I'm going to go ahead and close this round. And I'm going to be going into the space between 2 double crochet clusters here and bringing that yarn through, and then bringing it through the loop on my hook. Then I'll chain 1, and I can go ahead and cut my yarn. Fast enough. Oops. A little bit more. Okay. And then once more, turn my work around and weave this yarn end in. Okay, and it's time to start our last round. So here we can see the last round of our granny square. This round is going to consist of treble crochet stitches in the corners, and then on the sides we have double crochets in these two spaces and half double crochets in the middle space of the side. For just to make it easier for you to see the stitches, I am going to be using this beige yarn for this video because I love the dark blue, but I think it's really hard to see in the video, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use this beige instead to make it easier for you to see the stitches. So just like before, we will make a slip knot and take that loop of our finger, pull another loop through it and pull it tight. And now, just like before, I am going to be going in to this space here where I have this yarn end, so I can just hold it together with my work and it will disappear inside. So attach my yarn exactly the same way we've done before. And get it tight. And now I'm going to start here by making my first corner. And the way I do that is I'm going to start by chaining 4. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through. And this chain 4 here is going to count as my first treble crochet. And next I'm going to make my actual first treble crochet. So treble crochet is very similar to double crochet, with the difference that instead of going yarn over once here, we go yarn over twice to begin, so that we have sort of 3 loops on our hook. And then we insert in the same space, grab that yarn, bring it through. I have 4 loops on my hook. I go yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through. So it's just one more yarn over at the end and one more yarn over and pull through. Sorry, one more yarn over when we started, and then one more yarn over and pull through at the end. That's a treble crochet. We'll make one more treble crochet. Yarn over twice, insert in the same space, bring that yarn through. I have 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Now I have 3 treble crochets here, and since this is going to be my corner, I am going, oh sorry, I forgot to pull through those last 2, see? Pulling through those last 2 to make it treble crochet. Okay, there we go. 3 treble crochets, including that initial chain 4. And so this is my corner, and I'm going to be chaining 2 here to make it a corner. So if we look here, this is what we're doing. We're doing 3 treble crochets, chaining 2 here, and 3 treble crochets. So after those chain 2, I'm gonna go ahead and make 3 more treble crochets into that same space. Yarn over twice, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over twice, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over twice, insert the hook, bring that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And this is our first corner. Next, we're going to be working the side. So if we look here, this is our side. So here's the corner, here's another corner. And on the side, we have these 3 clusters. The first one is 3 double crochets. The next one is 3 half double crochets. And the last one is again 3 double crochets. And these are different kinds of stitches so that our granny square ends up being an actual square. I have tried different kinds of stitches around it, and this which I think is the original pattern, or at least one that's very popular. This is the one that really works the best because it makes that square shape. So we're gonna go ahead and work 3 double crochets into the next space. So double crochet is just yarn over once, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. Oops, I split my yarn there. Let's try it again. So yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So we worked 3 double crochets into that same space. The next one is going to be half double crochets. And if you remember when we were making these double crochet clusters earlier, I called these something like partial double crochets, as I think, as we did these clusters here. That I don't think is any kind of official crochet term, okay? So it's not the same thing as half double crochet. So now we are going to be working half double crochets, and that is an actual crochet term. So half double crochet starts exactly the same way as a double crochet. So we go yarn over, we insert the hook, bring that yarn through. We have 3 loops on our hook. We go yarn over, and we pull through all 3 at once. That is a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, and pull through all 3. That's half double crochet. So now we have our double crochets, half double crochets. In the next one, we're gonna make 3 double crochet stitches again. So yarn over, insert the hook, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, 3 double crochets. So now we have our corner here, first corner. We have completed our first side with the 3 double crochets, 3 half double crochets, and the 3 double crochets again. So in the next one we will work our next corner. So yarn over twice to make a treble crochet, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. 1 triple crochet. Let's make 2 more. Yarn over twice, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over twice, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. We have 3 treble crochets. We will chain 2 for our corner, and then we work another 3 more treble crochets into the same space. Yarn over twice, insert the hook, bring the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. 2 more. And here is our second corner. So now I'm gonna pause here because again I want to weave in this yarn end here, so exactly the same thing as before, pulling through these back loops here. So now as I work around my circle once more, once I get to this spot, I'll just hold the rest of this yarn end together with my work and it disappears there. So now feel free to go ahead and work around your granny square. So we made a corner here. Next we'll be making a side into these 3 spaces, then 1 more corner, 1 more side, 1 more corner, and 1 more side. If you want to see how we made that side and the corner, feel free to go back and see how we made this side here, because this side is going to be exactly the same as the rest of the sides. And for the corner, you can go back and see how we made this corner, because these last 2 corners are going to be exactly the same way as this corner here. So feel free to go ahead and work around your granny square, and I will meet you back here. So here we are. I have just worked all around my granny square, making all the corners and all the sides. And now I'm here at the point where I'm going to join. And if you remember, we chained 4 here for this initial treble crochet, and we're going to be going into this stitch right here to join this round. So going through both of the loops of that same stitch. Then we chain 1, and we can cut our yarn. And fast enough. Now I have been weaving in my yarn ends as I went, so most of them are already taken care of. You can see these little yarn ends here. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut these off. Because I already took care of these. They are securely weaved in into 2 different directions. And the only thing I have left is this last yarn end here, and then this initial yarn end. One more here. And the initial yarn end, if you remember, I was already holding this together with this ring as I went, so I already weaved it in into one direction. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just gonna go ahead and weave it in into the opposite direction. So what I like to do, I kind of like to anchor the yarn here somewhere. Just find a stitch and then go back the same way. And then I'll just cut the rest of that yarn end. And then for this last one, I haven't done anything with this yet. This is actually long enough to get the needle. So I'm just gonna go ahead and weave this one in into 2 different directions. The 2 different directions is my preference. I think some people just weave it in into one direction. Some people maybe even 3. But I feel like that 2 different directions is secure enough for me. So you can really do this your way as well. This is how I do it. So I find a stitch here where I anchor it, and I go back the same way. Let's just pull that work a little bit so that the yarn end doesn't bunch up your work. So here is our Sunburst Granny Square. All done. So I would love to hear what you thought about this tutorial. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. And if you liked it, please also like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.